Hey Twisters, welcome to my second round preview here between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers in the 2022 Stanley Cup Playoffs. So the way that I will do this, first of all, a playoff profile of each team, all right, how they performed in the first round of the playoffs. Second of all, then we'll look at the regular season series between these two teams. Then I'll tell you 5 things to look out for in this series, and then I'll weigh in with my outlook and prediction there. I want to know your thoughts, your prediction in the comments below, so feel free to sound off down there. If you're following the playoffs and you're new here, definitely join our growing community on YouTube. Hit the red subscribe button down below, and let's dive into this, okay? Let's get into our playoff profiles for each team. We'll start with the Carolina Hurricanes. So they were in a 7-game series against the Boston Bruins, in which the home team won every match. Yeah, their penalty kill actually looked pretty bad in that series, especially in Boston. It was first in the NHL the whole season for the most part, 88% in the regular season, but just 79.3% here. And one reason was because of the goaltending. Yes, because Antti Raanta was in place of Frederik Andersen, or at least he played a majority of that. We'll talk about the analytics of that a little bit later on. Second of all, Vincent Trocheck, he played very hard hockey out there, was useful in all 3 zones, and he just had a monster series overall for the Carolina Hurricanes. Parked himself in front of the net there. His on-ice shot percentage in 5-on-5 situations, 23%. That's his whole team when he's on the ice. That's ludicrous. He wasn't actually on the ice for any 5-on-5 goals against, starting 56% of his faceoffs in the defensive zone. Of course, he can't be the only one out there playing responsibly in his own end. Nonetheless, he was able to agitate the Bruins. He forced 7 turnovers. He laid 20 hits out there. And yes, he did have some points out there, 3 goals and 4 assists with a +6 rating. And lastly, Jaccob Slavin. This guy is really what a true defenseman is in the NHL. He plays just terrific in his own end. He forces turnovers better than any defenseman in the National Hockey League, and he's able to add some scoring on top of that. So he was just an absolute hoss out there, +10 rating out there, best in the playoffs, or tied for that mark. Blocked 13 shots, forced 15 turnovers. That is absolutely ludicrous. 5-on-5, Carolina goaltenders had a .939 save percentage with him on the ice, and he was tied for the team, or he led the team in scoring with 2 goals and 8 assists. 23 minutes of time on ice per game. He's got lots left in the tank for the Rangers and possibly beyond that. Now for the New York Rangers, they outlasted the Pittsburgh Penguins in 7 games, winning that 7th game in overtime and battling back from 3-1 down in the series. So the top players showed up when it mattered most for them. I looked at games 5 through 7. Zibanejad, 3 goals and 4 assists. Fox, 1 goal and 5 assists. Kreider had 3 goals. Andrew Kopp, who's been excellent for them since he was acquired at the trade deadline, 1 goal and 3 assists. Strome with 3 assists. And even though he had just 1 assist and a goal, Panarin's ultimate tally there, Game 7 in overtime. So a little kudos to the breadman there. Then you got to look at Gerard Gallant sticking with Igor Shesterkin late in the series despite pulling him twice earlier on. So in games 5 and 6, the Rangers actually trailed the Penguins 2-0. Still, Shesterkin was kept in the net, even though he had a .910 save percentage, which is certainly below Igor numbers, and a 3.66 goals against average. He did face 44 shots per game, so he was under siege, especially in that first game. And then in game 7, he has a good performance, 29 saves on 32 shots. So he'll have a little bit of confidence riding into this series against the Hurricanes. Speaking of which, on the season, the Hurricanes were actually 3-1 against the Rangers. They outscored them 14-10. Their last 2 meetings were in April, so not too long ago. The Canes won 4-2 and 4-3, respectively. We'll quickly look at the top performers here. So Aho, 3 goals, 4 assists, +3 rating. Svechnikov, 1 goal, 3 assists, neutral. Teuvo Teravainen, 1 goal, 2 assists, +3 rating. So looking at that top line for Carolina, top defenseman here, DeAngelo, a goal and 2 assists with a +2 rating. Slavin, no goals, 1 assist, but he had a +7 rating. And Frederik Andersen, we'll talk about him later on. He played 3 of those 4 games, 2.01 goals against average, and a .914 save percentage. As for the New York Rangers, Artemi Panarin, 0 goals and an assist with a -3 rating. Mika Zibanejad, 1 goal, 4 assists, and a +4 rating, so strong there. Chris Kreider, 4 goals and 2 assists, +3 rating. Adam Fox, 0 goals, 2 assists, and a -3 rating. And Keandre Miller, who I'll talk about later on, a goal and 2 assists with a +2 rating. Igor Shesterkin played in only 2 of those games, 3.63 goals against average, and an .883 save percentage. And in the postseason, these guys have only met up once since the Hurricanes were in Raleigh instead of Hartford. And so that was in 2020 in the bubble series. And the Hurricanes actually swept that 3-0. It was a best-of-5 series. Let's talk about 5 things to watch out for. So, number 1, most important, Frederik Andersen isn't looking like he's going to be playing in Game 1 or early on in this series. That's something that NHL has reported, and also Jim Parsons of the Hockey Writers and NHL Trade Talk. So, it's going to be up to primarily Antti Raanta to get the job done. He had a 2.37 goals against average and a 927 save percentage against the Boston Bruins. But what does stick out to me, I mentioned penalty kill earlier on. Raanta was only 864 save percentage in the regular season. Andersen was 901. That is a pretty sizable difference there, and you could tell that Raanta wasn't quite as sharp when having to kill penalties against the Boston Bruins. Point number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes, will they win just by dominating puck possession? I'm not entirely sure, actually. So Carolina, 51.1 faceoff percentage against the Boston Bruins, a great faceoff team. The Rangers were just 43.1% against the Pittsburgh Penguins and were 24th in the faceoff circle in the regular season. Carolina was 4th. In the regular season, when the Hurricanes outshoot their opponents, they are 37-15. That is the 6th best winning percentage in the NHL. However, when they're outshot, the New York Rangers actually have a 31-15 record. That is the best in the NHL as well. So, is puck possession really going to favor the Hurricanes all that much? Or are the Rangers just going to focus on quality of chances and hopefully limit some of those chances that the Hurricanes can generate in the New York zone? For point number 3, I'll talk about 2 players to look out for in this series. For the Rangers, it's K'Andre Miller, the young defenseman. From what I saw in Game 7, he played very well in his own end. 49.2 Corsi for percentage, despite starting almost 2/3 of faceoffs in his own end. So he played really well in 5-on-5 situations. He also forced 11 turnovers, which was second in the playoffs only to Jaccob Slavin. And then also remember that he contributed down the stretch. He had an assist in Game 5, and then he scored a goal in Game 7. He's not exactly known for his offense, but he did find ways to get on the score sheet, as did, of course, Adam Fox. The other guy I want to talk about for the Carolina Hurricanes, I could focus on Seth Jarvis, the young guy there, or I could have talked about somebody who's played for the Rangers like Jesper Fast, but actually let's talk about another former Ranger, Tony DeAngelo. This guy nearly got into some real hot water against the Bruins. He cross-checked Curtis Lazar in the face and didn't receive any supplemental discipline. Quite odd, but he did take 4 penalties in that series. He can definitely be a hothead. It's going to be interesting to see if Ryan Reeves, kind of like Brad Marchand, can get under his skin in this series. Yeah, his defensive game is not pretty, but he does pair with Jaccob Slavin. So instead, DeAngelo can focus on his offensive output. He had a goal and 7 assists with a +6 rating against the Boston Bruins. For point number 4, let's talk about Barkley Goodro. Now, he's not going to play in Game 1, but he could play later on in this series, and that would be huge for the Rangers. Goodro has lots of playoff experience. Of course, he scored the Game 7 winner against Vegas in overtime in 2019, and then he won 2 Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning, really part of that identity line that they're missing there. It was Blake Coleman, Yanni Gourde, and of course Goodro out there. Strong physical forward who can win some faceoffs and play very well in his own end, and adding some depth scoring too. 13 goals and 20 assists for 33 points this season. And then for point number 5, this is a little bit more qualitative here. So I look at the Carolina Hurricanes last year. They lost in the second round against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I thought to myself, this team really is missing some of that nastiness, some of that tenacity out there. Yeah, Tampa is a hard team to get shots off against because they do have lots of big defensemen and good defensive forwards out there. So the Hurricanes struggled there. So I'm interested to see if they can take some of that tenacity that they really showed against the Boston Bruins. They had a little bit of nastiness there with guys like DeAngelo and Trocheck. And now they're going up against the Rangers. Yeah, maybe not the most intimidating team, maybe not the most hard-hitting team out there, but we do recall that Gerard Gallant in 2018, they did roll some very physical lines in the playoffs, and so they were hitting everything that moves out there. It wasn't just Reeves and Carrier. It was other guys on the team, even small guys like Jonathan Marchessault finishing their checks. So imagine somebody like Goodrow coming back. You got Ryan Reeves. You've got a hothead like DeAngelo on the other side. Can the Rangers actually play some of that Gallant hockey, play at a fast pace, maybe not as many shots on goal, but again, finishing their checks kind of like Gallant was coaching the Knights back in 2018. So look for the style of play. It'll be interesting here because, yeah, it was more methodical between Boston and Carolina, but between New York and Pittsburgh, the average shot differential was 44-28 in favor of the Penguins. So it's going to be a very interesting series. Now my final outlook and prediction. To be upfront with you guys, the Penguins and Rangers series was the one that I watched the least of. So I don't feel as informed making my prediction here. There you go. So you can disagree with me all you want. Now, the thing is that, yes, I'm biased because I am sort of supporting the Hurricanes. I picked them at the start of the postseason to win the Stanley Cup, even though I do want Florida to win, by the way. The Hurricanes are such a great fundamental team. The Rangers have some of those just intangible pieces. If you bring Goodro in, if you bring Ryan Reeves in, Gallant has had lots of postseason success as a head coach. And so I do think the Rangers can make it very difficult for the Hurricanes, especially if it's Ranta and not Andersen in net. The Rangers have a very good power play and could strike against Antti Ranta plenty of times, I believe. But I did pick the lower seed in all three other matchups here. So yeah, you might say this is a weak sauce argument in my camp here, but I still am going to stick with the Hurricanes. Now, usually when you have 4 semifinal, essentially, right, you have maybe 1 go to 5 games, you have 2 go to 6 and 1 go to 7, or 1 go to 6 and 2 go to 7. I've predicted 2 7-game series already. I've predicted a 6-game series for the Oilers and the Flames. I don't want to, give the Rangers the short end of the stick here. So I'll say the Canes win. And you know what? Actually, screw it. 3 Game 7s. We had 5 in the first round. Canes in 7. These guys are unbeatable in PNC Arena in front of the Caniacs. So give me Team Red in this case. But anyway, guys, comment down below with your thoughts and stick around for more playoff content just like this. So we'll be doing more live streams throughout the postseason. It'd be great to have you here. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Helps others like you discover the channel. Subscribe. And if you haven't already, see the video description down below if you want to follow me on social media. I appreciate you Twisters so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Nick. I'll catch you later. Ciao.